The purpose of this show is to guide you to realign with habits that get you to live the life you've always dreamed of. This is the Habit-Based Lifestyle Podcast with Jesse Ewing. This is the Habit-Based Lifestyle, where you can access your full potential right now. Finally break free from destructive habits. That dream life, if you want it, you can have it. This is where you transform your health, mind, business, and relationships. Or do nothing and keep your life the way it is. But if you're ready for change, you're in the right place. This is where you're gonna learn how to live a habit-based lifestyle. You are tuning in to the Habit-Based Lifestyle Podcast with your host, Jesse Ewing. This is the Habit-Based Lifestyle. Let's go.
I have a very special guest, Kurt Ruppman, who is the CEO of H2Bev, and he is also the chief formulator for any of the drinks H2Bev. And just so you know, my favorite is Hydro Shot, but there's several different products on there. So, Kurt, thank you for being on the show today.
Thank you for inviting me, Jesse.
Yeah, so let's get right into this, man. How did you actually get into this hydrogen water?
Well, we had a tea and beverage company that we were formulating drinks and packaging. And in 2014, a company and a gentleman came to me with a plastic bottle that he said he had hydrogen enriched structured water in it. And that made us chuckle pretty good. We've been involved with industrial gases in our processing of plastics since the early 70s. So knowing that hydrogen would penetrate plastic, he had nothing in there but just typical water. And I sent it off at that time to the director of the Molecular Hydrogen Institute in Utah, Tyler LeBaron, which he started informing me all the wonderful things of that molecular hydrogen can do. From there, because Tyler said there were some things you can't do, it was like waving a red flag in front of a bull, I said, well, I'm going to charge off and see what I can do with it. Got in our lab, started working with infusing the hydrogen into water and other products at our beverage plant, found a way to do it, and found that there were some real things to it. I'm a person who, even if you read about it, I doubt it until I try it. I don't experience it firsthand. I just don't believe in it.
Right. So how long have you been, playing around with hydrogen? Since 2014, or does it go back way beyond that?
Well, hydrogen is 2014, and it's, on a standpoint of fooling around with it, it was basically 7 days a week, all day, all night, get up in the minutes. We've dedicated ourselves to experimenting with different infusion techniques to get the water, to get the hydrogen into the water truly dissolved so it'd be stable. And then it was to increase the parts per million in the water. We've never just worked with plain water per se, but always something that had ingredients. Okay.
And so originally you were in the, you said juice and tea business.
Correct.
How long were you in that line of work?
About 10 years.
Okay. And so as you got more into playing around with the hydrogen, when did you actually start formulating kind of your first product?
That came really in 2015. We're still working with the tea and juice company. We were making products for the schools and school children, programs for their cafeterias. And I had a heart attack. As I always say, it was the best thing that ever happened to me. Came home from the hospital, tried to do my evening walking, cramping in my left calf muscle. I had some of our experimental hydrogen infused water with vitamins there. And one night I said to my wife, I'm going to drink this. And went out and walked, and it didn't have any pain. And immediately I said, well, that was a placebo effect, mind over matter. And so the next night I did the same thing, and again, no pain. Third night, didn't drink the hydrogen, pain was right back. And that really kicked me off. And I said, there's got to be something to this that's real, and really started working on it. In 2016, we launched a product in a very unique aluminum bottle, because aluminum's basically the only thing that's going to hold hydrogen. And it was really to see what the consumers thought about it, and started seeing some response. We were rather shocked at the response. Hooked up with a Dr. Gary Gordon at that time, who got us a lot of exposure. And we weren't going back we had spent a lot of years in the retail marketplace, so we didn't even attempt going to the retail area, because
Right.
of consumer education that's going to be needed to understand hydrogen and its benefits. Did a lot of reading about it, really got into it, and kind of fast forward on the whole thing. I now have 9 stents in my heart, but my heart functions, the functional areas are close to like a 36-year-old. We reduced the chamber wall thicknesses. My ejection fraction of my heart is phenomenal. My C-reactive protein went from over 5 down to just barely under 1. So with all the bad things I do in my life and everything else, hydrogen keeps me going.
Okay. So that was, you were kind of the test rat in a sense, or lab rat. And so you found these results in yourself, but what are some of the benefits of like hydrogen water and drinking this that, our listeners would want to know about?
Well, there's plenty of clinical studies that have been done by others, mainly out of Asia, that they address cardiovascular areas of improvements, skin, hydration, reducing athletic fatigue, muscle fatigue. There's numerous. It's been reported that hydrogen can actually have a positive effect on about 100, I believe it's 138 different afflictions. When you start talking that, and I don't, they all start asking me, where's my covered wagon and the Indians and a drum, and get my snake oil bottle sale out. So we just talk about the main things that we have found, that we've experienced. And really, all this period of time for over the last 5 years, we haven't looked at sales, but we looked more at quantitative data from the drinks that we were doing thermal imaging, using a device from Japan that can actually non-invasively check the blood flow in your body, the nitric oxide levels, using a Nox Vera machine. We were after data. Anecdotal stories are nice, but being able to go down and get clinical studies on cardiovascular patients, comparisons using nuclear stress tests that can show quantitative data changes, that's what leads us to where we are today, of saying, here's a product that we know works and stuff like that, try it.
And, we all know that regular water doesn't do that.
That's a fact.
Okay.
And we've seen with, like, for the one product, the one that you like, we've been able to establish through numerous testing and months of testing that it can increase your blood flow without increasing your heart rate or your blood pressure. But we did that with all sorts of products. Some of the commonly or well-known drinks that are out there, hydrate drinks, they get a little bit of a bump in your blood flow, and that's from the sugar. And then after that, it wears off. We're looking for products that can last 6, 7, 8 hours. And what we were after was products to help your focus, your attention, to get into your cognizant effects of your brain and stuff.
Yeah, so the product you're talking about that I like is called Hydro Shot. If any of the listeners on here are actually like paying attention. But one of the things that I noticed right away when I started drinking it is I would drink it immediately when I got up, take some of my supplements, and then I would immediately go to the gym and work out. And one of the things that I noticed right away was just it felt like my muscles, and it felt like I had this increased energy and oxygen to my entire body, to my muscles. And I don't know if you really know what this is, but like you get kind of a pump a lot of times when you work out. But for me, a lot of times I had to take, creatine and stuff like that. But I notice even now I stopped taking creatine because I feel the pump, or I feel this oxygen in my muscles even more, and in my body even more than I ever did taking creatine. And I'm not sure what that is, but is there something to do with ATP drinking this hydrogen water?
Well, again, looking at the product, we know it's increasing your blood flow 60, 70%. So obviously your organs, your muscles are getting more oxygen flow to it. I've talked to my doctors and stuff that I go to and everything else. And, they all talk about it, that if you can increase your blood flow, you can solve a lot of the afflictions people have. And of course, you're looking at getting blood flow, oxygen back to your organs, reducing and chasing down the different things that happen that are coming off of burning your muscles and burning up proteins and what have you. And it's chasing down the hydroxyl free radicals in all the data that you read about. So that what hydrogen does. So the little old molecules out there chasing down the bad actors in there. And the additives that we put into the drink, which are basically all plant derivatives, have all got clinical studies. They're all GRAS status approved by the FDA, and they all have certain effects. The one product that we find, the alpha size, that was a product that is designed to help reverse Alzheimer's. During their clinical studies, that company found that it increased your brain energy cells by about 20%, which increased your physical performance. We found that using that product with the hydrogen is that it helped your focus, your attention, your retention of what's going on. Actually, as a mood does change, your mood change a little bit, and crabby old guy like me and stuff gets up in the morning. My wife says, "You're almost pleasant to live with." But she can't go anywhere after 52 years, so she's stuck with me. But it has done things. The citrulline that's in the product that you like, it's well known for helping with creating nitric oxide. Nitric oxide is so critical in your system and stuff like that, and it lasts for a very long time. And we were able to prove through digesting the drink, which is to the cardiovascular side,
Right.
that we created so much nitric oxide, it crossed over into the pulmonary side and showed up into the fractional exhale, nitric oxide levels tested by the Nox-Vera machine, which those results out of a Nox-Vera machine are FDA approved. That machine's used globally. And
Right.
we shot manufactured those people because they said, you can't drink something and increase that. And within a very short period of time, and then doing thermal imaging, you can see for yourself in your hand the changes. And that's a product, we call it the Mac Daddy. It can do just about everything.
Yeah. So let's talk about, so we have, a lot of people with alkaline water and things like this that are claiming, hey, it's like 9.2, 8.8. What's the difference between that and like hydrogen water, besides obviously the hydrogen being in there, but like, what's the difference in the two things?
Well, I haven't, tried to analyze the, alkaline water. I've heard a lot of claims. I've not seen a lot of clinical studies on that. I've drank high alkaline water, high pH. I didn't feel anything from it. Again, we're lucky if we know how to read or write or put shoes on. So our ignorance is our best ally. And if I don't feel it, I don't see the results, and I can't test the results, I don't believe in it. the thing with the hydrogen is we found that the molecule of hydrogen creates a synergistic effect with the ingredients that we put in there, becomes a transporter, and increases the bioavailability into the system very rapidly within minutes. As you said, you can feel it very quickly and stuff like that. And that's the big thing, is looking at being able to get that feeling in your system, the feel of tingling going through your system, and then be able to last a long time.
Yeah. So, let me ask you this. There's a lot of people now, coming forward and saying, hey, I have this, hydrogen enriched water machine. I have these tablets. What are you seeing out there as far as there's a lot of people claiming to have hydrogen in their water, but what have you seen? Because I know you've tested a lot of other people's products. We won't mention their names. But what is the big difference between yours and other hydrogen, enriched waters? We can start with water machines, and then we can go into the tablets, and then we can go into similar drinks.
The water machines, it is strictly, on my standpoint, hearsay. I have not tested a machine.
Okay.
I have listened to the issues out there of not being reliable. The problem that I understand with that is when you're creating by electrolysis, the water in these machines, you're not truly dissolving the hydrogen. You're creating it there, but its stability is not there. So, as I always say, take a bottle, and they say, well, we're going to fill our bottle and we're going to walk around all day with this thing. How many people fill the bottle to the very brim? Very few ever think about doing that. And the problem with hydrogen and keeping longevity to it is not having headspace in the package. So that hurts. I have worked with the tablets a little bit. They do create hydrogen. I've seen some fairly high levels from them. Personally, myself, again, I didn't like the taste. It does affect things. You're creating, a magnesium reaction metal with acid to create the hydrogen. It left some residue on the surface. It just wasn't that pleasing to me. And I had concerns, is all the metal being dissolved? Because we use nothing but ultra pure molecular hydrogen gas. We know that's GRAS certified also, the hydrogen is. We know we're not putting foreign things into the body. And again, that's from my aspects of looking at it. There's a lot of people that are running around making a lot of claims about their products. We have tested our product, 2 years old. It is the same as when we package it. There is nobody, to our knowledge, and I ask a lot of questions. I'm nosy. And I contact Tyler LeBaron at the Molecular Hydrogen Institute a couple times a week. And I ask for his, guidance of, do you know of anybody else? And I think, as Tyler reports back, he doesn't know anybody that can go as high in the parts per million as we have. We've taken it up to over 5 parts per million. And we can dial in with the system that we've developed. They all talk in all the clinical studies that are out there on the internet that you can get. They talk about the therapeutic areas of hydrogen being 1.2 to 1.5 range. That's what we say is just about common. Our common product that we ship out and stuff like that, like the hydro shot that you're drinking, is about 2.5.
Okay.
And so we keep it in that range. Now we've got some people who are willing to pay for the increased hydrogen process, and we'll sell them at 4.5. And we have product going overseas, and it's an educational program here in the United States. We're doing other products. We're doing the teas, the unsweet green teas, and unsweet black, and slightly sweetened black tea. Got amazing product out there too with the CBD. Others have found that it affects them. I know somebody who I'm talking to now said they didn't notice in their sleep. We're going to have to, stiffen it up or give you about 5 cans then.
Yeah, well, I've also, I also taken CBD quite a bit. So, I may be more intolerant to it than other people. Although, I've been taking it for about 4 or 5 nights, and what I have noticed, because I didn't take it last night, is my sleep last night wasn't as good as it had been the last couple nights. But I also had my other little daughter in bed too, so that could have had some effect.
Right.
I don't notice anything right away, but I also would say that I do take CBD regularly for sleep, and I probably take more than the average person. So I have a little higher tolerance, so I might need to drink 2 cans instead of 1.
Right. And we have found, like my oldest daughter, Shelly, who is a workout nut every day and everything else, and has all her numbers and what hydrogen's done for her performance and everything else. She drank about a third of a can and was already falling asleep. And she does not get a lot of sleep because she has 3 daughters, and they're up all night, and she's up early and everything else. And one morning she called me up crying. She says, "I've slept 3 hours past my normal time. What do I do? I'm never drinking that stuff again." Well, do you ever think you might need some sleep?
Yeah.
She's running and gunning all the time. And again, with the products, so we're all going to be offering just a straight, what we call plain hydrogen water. The hydration of it is well documented by other clinical studies out there. We look at it as that, and it'll be priced very attractively, because I've been in the packaging industry for almost 40 years, and everything turns to a commodity. And we all seen it, just plain old water went from $1 a bottle to under 10 cents a bottle today. We had people that started out drinking our vitamin enriched hydrogen water. They got used to it, started claiming they didn't feel anything, and they quit buying it. And I'm not going to pay that type of price for something I don't feel. And so that's why we kept striving to find a product that will give you that gratification, will feel it, and then can go on. Again, the product that you like, I can't say enough about. I have been the guinea pig for the heart. Then my wife got rectal cancer, and we used a product for dealing with the brain fog and the joint pain that she suffered from it. I got jealous because my 12 grandkids were crawling all over and doting on her, and I said, well, I better go out and get my own cancer and stuff, and so they'll pay attention to me for a change. And I ended up with skin cancer, 3 cancers all in one spot.
Wow.
Went through the Mohs surgery where they cut me from my eye to my ear and down, and 28 radiation treatments. Face looked like a meat grinder when I got through. And fortunately, drinking that product in less than 10 days, face was back to normal. And I don't know if that's a good thing or bad thing, but it was back. But today, you can't even see the scar. My wife was down just getting a checkup, which she was 100% clean bill of health. And immediately her oncologist kept staring at me. She said, "It is hard to believe how that filled in and what's going on." And everybody talks about how soft the skin gets, the cosmetic effects. It has been a little bit disappointing because the women are talking about getting new hair follicles, and it's not doing a dang thing for the back of my head. So I think it's prejudice. I hear you. So I don't know. It's picking on the guys because it's not growing any new hair on the top of my head.
Well, I have my wife is she's definitely addicted to it. She's been drinking it, 3 times a day. I try to remind her she only has to drink 2, but she insists on that they taste good drinking 3. And then I got my son who's playing football. He's drinking them before practice, and he's doing great. So I personally can feel a huge difference. And like I said, one of the most notable ways is just an exercise. Even I went out surfing this morning, and I also noticed and I haven't went surfing for about 2 weeks. I noticed my heart rate didn't get over about 163, where, normally when I'm out surfing, it gets to like 178, 180, and things like that. And I haven't been out. And the only thing that's changed is I've been drinking your water pretty consistently for about 5 weeks. So,
Jesse, I got to tell you, my daughter, Shelly, who, like I said, she works out every day. She's 45. She'll kill me for saying that. Anyhow, she has a very difficult time now increasing her heart rate where it used to go up. And she took her mile from over 9 minutes down to just over 6 minutes. But
wow.
When she gets into this stuff, it is great for the athletes. We have a few doctors who are therapists who participate in the Ironman competitions, cannot believe how much time they've cut off their bike riding. And again, not feeling fatigued. This one gentleman gets up and he rides 50 miles on his bike. I keep trying to tell him, we got cars that can do that. You don't need to do that stuff. And he says he just isn't fatigued. But again, for the folks who have afflictions, who have MS, we've seen some very good results with patients that have MS, that have gone from being bedridden up to a wheelchair, up to being able to walk. And it took 9 months, 10 months, just drinking 1 can a day. So there's been a lot of very, very good things that have happened with these products.
And when you so your wife had rectal cancer. What was the big thing that the big result that she got? Was it more of the recovery from chemo, or was it just the whole entire process of healing?
I believe the chemo basically was what we were targeting, and the effects, the brain fog that was terrible, being able to remember things, and especially the joint pain that she was suffering from. She called me one day in the garage crying and stuff like that. She could not turn the ignition key far enough because her wrists and fingers hurt so bad. Of course, I asked her, I said, where were you going? She says, I'm going shopping. I said, get back in the house. You don't need to be putting yourself through this. I said, you're going to spend money, so get in the house. But, we worked with her on it. And that was the main thing. It's helped even the doctors. When she just went through another test recently and the nurses were waiting for her to wake up, we're shocked, and she's 73. And, couldn't believe the texture of her skin, how nice her skin tone was and everything else, and the softness. And she's noticed that the spider webs from, childbirth and everything else around the ankles from, again, the H shot, the hydro shot, reducing that. And so it's been a major factor for it. And the biggest thing was the depression that comes along with it, the uncertainty of cancer and what have you.
Sure.
The product helps the mood, and it gets them upbeat and everything else, and gets her off the chair because it gives you the energy. You want energy, and it's not this hyped up, jittery energy. It's just there. It's a nice, subtle, I'm not going to be a couch potato today.
Yeah, I think what I feel is it gives you the energy without the crash.
Right.
And, I think I told you when I first got it, I was like drinking 4 or 5 a day. I'm like, man, this tastes pretty good. And
we only needed one customer, then we'll make a good business.
Yes. So what are, if somebody's listening to this and they're like, man, why would I drink hydrogen water versus just regular tap water? You've said a lot of stuff about the benefits of this, but I think, does it mean that we drink this hydrogen water and we don't drink anything else, or is it kind of a combination of both? And what do you recommend to do per day?
I look at it from the standpoint, when you get up in the morning, first thing you do is you drink the product. If you're really having a rough day, drink a second one mid-afternoon. Always on an empty stomach. Never pour it over ice. You can refrigerate it, but never pour it over ice. The big thing about hydrogen is that the molecule size is the smallest element there. It has been substantiated by others in these clinical studies, like I said, over 1,000 of them, that it can penetrate the blood-brain barrier. And there's very few things that can do that.
Right.
rejuvenate the mitochondria of your cell. So it's not like just drinking water to hydrate. It's
Right.
hydrated, but it's doing so much more. It's chasing down and removing from your system the hydroxyl free radicals and stuff. So
So
there's some real benefits to it.
yeah, so your product, the Hydro Shot specifically, we're talking about you're recommending to drink 2 of those a day.
That's correct.
Okay. Now there's one other thing that I want to talk about with this is, one of the other things I've noticed is if you've had a few too many drinks or alcoholic drinks, one of the cool things that I noticed right away, and I think this was like one of the first things was me and my wife had went out on date night. I think it was the week that I'd gotten them. And we'd had I think I had like 4 or 5 margaritas and she had probably the same. And I drank one of them right before I went to bed. And I don't really ever drink. And I woke up the next day, I had 0 headache, 0 hangover. I actually felt like I never even drank. And so, that was one thing that I noticed. And my wife also noticed the same thing. She's like, oh my gosh. And that's what I think originally we're like, oh my gosh, okay, these work, at least, for sure for hangover. That was what we noticed right away. And then the more we got into drinking them, the more it was like, man, I feel so much better and more awake as soon as I drink this first thing in the morning.
There's no question about it working. And again, picking on my oldest daughter, she called me up one night and said it was her birthday that evening. She was going out with her friends. She was going to do a research mission for the company. So that means she was charging all her drinking to the company.
Yeah.
And she's find out if I get up in the morning and doesn't have a hangover after she drinks it. And then, of course, it did work for her. Having 12 grandkids, there's about 5 of them that are at the age, there's a few of them legal and a few of them that aren't, that are drinking, who have also done the experimenting or do it quite a bit. We've got a few of them in college, and I told them when they were going back just recently, look at it this way. This product helps you with 2 things. It helps you study, retain your studies better, understand it, your attention. And the other thing is get over your hangover in the morning after you've been out all night long. And so I'm sure they're already doing it and practicing it, but there's no doubt about it. It does flush out your liver and stuff like that and get you going clean again.
Yeah, and I also had my wife, she tried to make a margarita out of them, and I told her, hey, once you pour it over ice,
you're done.
It's losing its thing, but she was convinced it was still working. So,
well, the additives are, the ingredients that are in there going on, but we've done enough testing that I can pour a can out into a glass, test it with this, what they call H2 blue reagent, and you do your droplets to see how much hydrogen's in your product. And I can take the other part of the can, half the can, and pour it over ice. Hour later, we still have hydrogen in the open cup. The cup that had the ice, the hydrogen was gone in about the first minute.
Okay. So, yeah, you talked about testing some other products in yours, and you said, the Hydro Shot, I think, had like around 2.5.
Right.
And what are the other products that you've tested having about? Like, are they all about the same, around 1 to 1.2?
There's some products that I've tested products that had 0.
Okay.
Again, you buy products. I bought competitors' products to see how they're going. You have to understand that we live packaging day in, day out. That's what we've been about. That's my whole working career. And so when you get into and examining a product and then going back and doing real-time shelf studies on the product, go back and test. The company loves me with the H2 blue droplets because I go through so much. Because we want to know we're giving somebody something we can stand behind. And we've seen where if you have a slight bit of headspace, you're going to lose the hydrogen. Because the hydrogen is eventually, I don't care how well, even ours, is dissolving the hydrogen in the liquid, it's going to work its way up. It's the nature of the beast. So if you've got a lot of headspace in a pouch or a can, in 24 hours, the hydrogen's gone.
Okay, so you mean by headspace, if it's filled up all the way to the top, whether it's a can or it's a pouch or plastic bottle.
Well, you don't have hydrogen in a plastic bottle by anybody.
So no one sells hydrogen in plastic bottles.
No, it'll go right through the sidewalls.
Okay, so at least they have that part right. But you have people that do have pouches, and then you do have people that are selling cans. But what you're telling me is if the can's filled up all the way to the top, there's no space, or if the pouch is, then it's going to dissipate.
With the pouches, if you got some headspace, you got a plastic spout on it. As I just said, it's well known and documented. Hydrogen will go through plastic. Bam, you can, over a period of time, it'll go on and permeate out through the package.
Okay.
Again, if you have mixed gases, and I've done a lot of things with mixed gases in my time, start getting into carbonation. What happens is the carbonation will draw the hydrogen right out of the can. So you'll have it when you first drink it, but you better drink it real quick when you pop the top. Yep, people don't like it that you get a little bit of splash when you open the can, but do you want the benefits of hydrogen, or do you just want to drink some water and stuff? So we look at it this way. I'm after benefits, so I can take a little splash on my hand.
Right. And what I would say is, you want the, like, this isn't something you technically sip. It's something you open up and you drink it right away. It's technically not really something you're going to sit there and sip. Yeah, you might have a window of, 15, 30 minutes, whatever it is, but you're going to want to drink this right away, correct?
Correct. That was the fallacy of when we first came out with the aluminum bottle that had a resealable plastic closure on it, and we had an aluminum liner inside the plastic closure. Very unique bottle. People would drink it, recap it, leave it in their refrigerator, come back the next day and say, I'm drinking this, but I don't feel anything now. Well, hell yeah. All the hydrogen's gone up into the headspace that, half the bottle is headspace now. So we said we had to get rid of that package. We got to have a package that you drink, consume, and, discard. And again, our packaging, we use a special coating on the inside that is a PBA free, which is in compliance with Proposition 65 in California, which has no carcinogenics. It's free of that, good old California. But we take very big pride in food safety. And so get something there that's not going to have any type of carcinogenics leaching into the product.
Yeah, and just to go back to, you talked about some of the machines out there that a lot of people are coming forward with is, you, in order to get any type of benefit, if there was any, you would literally have to drink all of it right away. But once it touches the air, it's starting to, dissipate, correct?
That's correct. And that's the whole thing. You're better off to put your mouth underneath the nozzle and just shoot it straight in. So
right.
You get the full benefits. But I've listened to also and this is, again, listening, not experiencing firsthand, but, that the machines, after a period of time, they're maintenance. You got to keep the maintenance up on them and everything else. And after a while, if they don't have the right filters in them and what have you, it starts smelling musty and mold getting in it and everything else. I think there's a lot of work to be done. But again, I've always said, it's a huge marketplace out there, and there's room for numerous things.
Yeah.
I don't know of anybody, and if anybody does, I don't know of anybody in the marketplace that is doing hydrogen-infused beverages with ingredients like tea, like coffee, CBD, and special formulated drinks like we're doing.
And they taste good.
Well, that's the whole, you got to start out when you got 12 grandkids and you run around and use them as your tasting board. I've paid for some carpeting as they've drank it. So, man, that tasted terrible.
Yeah, so I actually do have a machine. So I will be the first one to say, and this is a company that claims to be very reputable, but where I actually have done a case study with the program. And if you put them next to each other, your hydro shot and this $10,000 water machine that supposedly has the same benefit, it's like a difference between night and day. So I actually have both. And, I could say maybe a placebo effect. Yeah, I could tell a little bit of a difference with the machine, but after drinking Hydro Shot, like there's no comparison whatsoever. And so I'll be the first to admit and stand up and say I've actually tried both, and there's no comparison whatsoever.
Right. That's good to hear. I mean, I didn't know you had one of the machines for sure. And
Yeah, well, it's broke now, so
yeah, I've heard a lot of that from a lot of people too, that it didn't last. But it's a product. When we first came out, Jesse, we were calling it Will. And as we were doing a lot of our experimenting with it, and everybody said, well, what the heck's it will? And I said, it will do it. And he says, it will do what? And I said, drink it and find out. And everybody's metabolism is different. But when you take cardiovascular patient after patient, and they go through these tests of nuclear stress tests, in that documents that we had that we shared with you, the doctor's internal paperwork between the family doctor and the cardiologist told the patient to go home and get on hospice. There was nothing they could do for him. He had ischemia and a large heart, and he was going to croak and stuff like that. He got onto our product. 60 days later, he was feeling so great. The cardiologist said, let's do a nuclear stress test again. And they found no ischemia, no enlarged heart. The guy's just as happy as can be and going on and stuff like that. And these are in doctor reports that have gone back and forth. Medical directors at Baylor Hospital here in Dallas, the biggest hospitals there, when they found in the areas of asthma and the things that it was doing there. And this is the medical directors. We have a medical director that's been on our product and testing it for a couple of years now and stuff like that is in adolescents' brain health. We're seeing some very interesting happenings. Looking for, I need that quantitative data. I don't want to hear about how it's doing some help here. We know that with my 12 grandkids, we have twin boys that had some learning disabilities, and it's helped them immensely and stuff like that, and retention in school and stuff like that. So we know firsthand it's working. We've got enough data ourselves that we can point to things, and it's real. That's the best part. It's real.
Yeah, that's awesome. So what is, what's kind of the next big thing for you and H2 Bev? Like, are you moving into a market? Or are you moving into a kind of a select few products, or like kind of what's the plan for the next year or two?
For in the last past 30 days, as I said before, now we're going into marketing. We've changed up our website some. We've got an affiliate page. We're working with different people and yourself, looking at people, how to get affiliates to get out and market the product. We're looking at hiring folks for doing social media marketing. We are talking to some very strong people in the industry with that. So our big push now is to get the word out. Going into the retail marketplace will be a little bit slower because we spent so many years in the retail area. It's a very difficult area to educate the consumer. Person walks in to a grocery store, they're on a mission. They know which aisle they're going to, they know exactly where they're finding their product. To get them to stop, to try something, you just about got to knock them down and tie them and rope them and say, here, try this, to get their attention. So it's the education by online, social media marketing. There's numerous things that our kids, my grandkids are doing, and people that can get the word out. So for the next year or so, 2 years, it's going to be really pushing that product. I've got a hydrogen infused coffee, 3 different flavors we're working with. It still needs probably another 90 to 120 days of real-time shelf study to make sure nothing goes wrong with the product, and we get third-party approval on that and stuff. So we'll keep looking at it. Hopefully we'll find some collaboration out there to grow it faster. We think the real area is that maybe the pharma companies will wake up and understand that hydrogen has a real place. And maybe you could take some of those drugs that you're giving people and reduce the amount of drugs, reduce the size, and be able to get more with less. and that's what we're after. Because I think we've only scratched it. We haven't even scratched the surface. We're floating over the surface. There's so much, and there's so many people that are, super smart that are in this business that eventually will start learning. I mean, just like my own family doctor, he threw me out of his office. He says, "Get your damn voodoo juice out of here." It's the dumbest thing I ever heard. He's out now pushing it like crazy because what it did for him and his double knee replacement surgery and his recovery.
Right.
So it just takes time. It's getting the word out there, people experiencing it firsthand, and then word of mouth, take it from there.
Okay, great. So what is so this is obviously habit-based lifestyle, and this is all about habits, but what is one habit someone could start doing with this water, specifically, maybe it's hydro shot or maybe it's CBD, but what would you recommend with hydro shot as a habit?
Oh, I'd make that your main thing that you wake up in the morning, first thing you grab for, not the plunger on the toilet or anything else, but do that first. Drink that can and get your day started out right.
And somebody may end up on the toilet after they drink their first thing. We won't mention any names, but if that does happen, what does that mean?
It's just flushing your system out. When hydrogen, when it goes after the hydroxyl free radicals, turns it to a liquid, and it will flush your system. So if you've been living a bad lifestyle with certain foods and what have you, it will make sure your system gets cleaned.
Okay, good. So
it just, once, twice, and man, you're back to normal.
Okay. So drinking, a habit someone could start doing is just drinking one of these first thing in the morning. If you really wanted to step it up, then you could do 2 a day. And the other one, you'd say what, around like 3 or 4 o'clock?
Yes. And if you're a young athlete, if an athlete's in there and they're in high school football and using the name where we live, Allen Eagles, who have been state champions a number of times and national champions another time, you're before the game, about 15 minutes before your game, drink it, and it'll give you endurance through that game and keep your spirits up, your speed. We've got some defensive linemen that have used it, and it's been very effective.
Awesome. Yeah, I would guess, man, in Texas, it's hot down there in the summer and football season. So
we just went through last night. Going to have to get a lot of kids after what I watched for that scrimmage game last night on the product. But we were the ones that started out with the high school football stadium, $60 million football stadium. And now here in Texas, other cities have dwarfed it. They're up to $90 million, $100 million football stadiums for high school. We take high school football serious, but out by you, we've got some, we had some kids come through the number 1 draft choice this year, Kyler Murray. Was at Allen. Bobby Evans, who's playing for the Rams, played the other night and stuff like that. All them, and keep wishing my grandson would have got a little bit faster and meaner, and he could have made it out there with them all too. But it's great for the kids. I mean, their recovery from injuries, soft tissue injuries, brain concussions. There's just so much out there.
Yeah, I mean, maybe we could send some to Antonio Brown, see if he can get his cryo feet healed, and then he can switch his helmet and maybe wear the hydro shot for his helmet.
Yeah, we've got some hockey players too and stuff like that. And you figure they need it because of the beating they take and stuff like that with the sticks and stuff they've found. And asthma, we've just kids that were having asthma attacks, stress-induced asthma attacks, that stopped all that. A lot of information.
So one last thing is on the CBD product, because this is a huge market right now for CBD. CBD plus hydrogen, as you're getting the benefits of the hydrogen and you're mixing that in with the CBD, which is much different than just CBD by itself, correct?
That's correct. You're going to feel the intensity come on sooner. We don't have to load you up with 20, 30, 50 milligrams of it, very heavy doses. But also, too, the effects last longer. And we're getting that CBD into the past the blood-brain barriers. So they already know there's a lot of literature out there and testing about doing things for autism and brain functions with CBD. And I'll leave it at that. It really is quite effective.
Okay. Awesome, man. Well, hey, I want to thank you for being on here today and just everything that you're doing, and just tell you how great your product is and the huge difference I've noticed, and not only me, but several people I've gotten to start drinking it. And I look forward to just continuing on this journey with you.
Well, Jesse, I appreciate the opportunity to allow us to speak about the product. Also, that you're using it and stuff like that and getting the word out. That's what we're after, is something that is truly healthy and beneficial. And if it's not, we don't touch it.
Okay. Awesome, man. Well, hey, thank you for being on here. If you guys are looking to connect further with a group of like-minded people, join myself and so many others in the Habit-Based Lifestyle Secrets group on Facebook, where I will be dropping daily habits to help you live to your full potential. If you want to be one of our next case studies and begin living this habit-based lifestyle, reach out to me, Jesse, at habitbasedlifestyle.com. Also, any listeners on this podcast, I'm going to be leaving a link in the show notes where you guys can actually go directly and order a case of Hydro Shot or the teas or anything else on the H2 Bev site, and you will receive 10% off your order. So until next episode, have a great day.
The purpose of this show is to guide you to realign with habits that get you to live the life you've always dreamed of. This is the Habit-Based Lifestyle Podcast with Jesse